All right, my friends, you asked for it, and now we're going to talk about how to sound like we're from New York. All right, for all my newsy people, this one is for you. Okay, so the first thing you want to do when you're doing a New York accent, drop the R. Okay, try this for a second. Everyone say It's like you're growling at somebody. It's almost like a gummy sort of feeling at the roof of your mouth, isn't it? This is a very Midwestern R. It's also the kind of R you'd lean into if you were a country singer. It's a little twangy, okay? For New York, they don't even bother with the R's, okay? Anytime you have an R and an unstressed syllable, meaning it's not the important syllable in the word, you just kind of throw it out the window. If this is tricky for you, if you can do a British accent, they do the same thing, only it sounds a bit more proper. If you were going to use your Mary Poppins accent, practically perfect in every way, they drop the R's at the ends of their words as well. In New York, we got a couple other sounds in there that make it sound like New York, but they also just drop the R, all right? In our scene, there's a couple of ways where this comes in very important. First one, Harlem. When you say the word Harlem, Harlem, no R in the word Harlem, Harlem. So it's almost like you say aw instead, Harlem. Just the word ah. Are we doing the right thing? Ah. You don't even say R, no R, okay? There's another word where you do it, it's the word foist. Now you notice, if we're saying first, if you're very British and you said first, we'd say first. But here we are not going to say first, we're going to say foist. Rhymes with moist. I don't know why they do this, but there's a couple other words where they do that. Hoid, void, foist. Okay? So if you're watching the movie and you're like, foist? Yes, friends, foist. Jack says that. They wanted proof that we weren't going to fold at the foist sign of trouble. But I'd have everybody try it because I think it's one of those sounds that really feels New York. Okay? There's another R that they do use. You notice when I said the word Brooklyn or proof, I didn't quite go proof like we would say Brooklyn. This sort of R sound that they make is almost more like a little puff of air. It's like you were going to say a V, like V, V, or F. So they're going to say proof, proof. You're still kind of saying the R, but it's almost like you just kind of like puffed it out. That's a little bit of a tricky sound. But if you can get that, it sounds very New York. I find I do it about half the time. Proof, Brooklyn, just a little v to it. It's a little interesting. I kind of like it. Okay, now we're going to talk about vowels. There's a very big vowel that is pretty noticeable that you're going to need to use in here. The biggest one is the ah. Usually when you're saying a word like ah, so just say ah, normal. We say it a little wide here in the Midwest, ah. In New York they say aw, okay? So ah, are we doing the right thing? Yeah? What's another word we use? All. If for once and for all. I think the word off, although I was going back and forth on this one because off kind of sounds a little bit like the vowel you would have for octopus. And if you notice when you say the words spot, Conlon, on, those are octopus vowels. That is actually the way you would say those. You don't have to tweak that vowel at all. Okay? You just got to be a little more careful when you get to the ones like more, since I just said more. More is not ah, oh, more. So you get a little more ooh, ah, yeah? And you want to also be careful you don't get too ah on it. Okay, so if you said ah, we doing the right thing, or all, that sounds a little bit more like Boston. And we are not from Boston, okay, friends? We are from New York. Let's see. There's another sound that I think is pretty good for getting that New York flavor. And I've heard a couple people doing this one already. It kind of makes me happy. It's the ooh, okay? So if you're saying something like what do you want to do? Or I don't got a clue. Is actually a line in here. Don't got a clue. use, and soon. Okay, there's a little bit, it's a little bit of an ooh. It kind of comes right up into the nasal area. So if you think like there's a triangle right here, ooh. You want to get that sound just right up in there. Whoa, Google just scared me. I'm sorry. Ooh. And I said it feels just a little bit gangster. Not like gangsta, but like if you were ever watching Guys and Dolls or any sort of like The Sopranos, they made him an offer you can't refuse. It's a little Godfather, or in our case, Godfather. So you want to kind of hit that do, or ain't got a clue. It's very ooh, and it kind of presses, like I said, a little bit against the back of the nose. Okay. I think we got those. Do, clue, use, soon. Good. The last of the sounds, and I'm going back to, my Godfather joke right there. It's the D, the T, and the th. Okay? So going back to British for a moment, the T's in British sounds are they're kind of dental. They're right up against the teeth. They're very crisp and very clean. New York, they're a little harder, and they don't like to push a lot of air. Unlike the R, where we kind of went proof, we were kind of pushing the R out. This is going to be a little bit harder sound. So instead of saying mother with a th sound, they say mudder, or father, it's father. Yeah? So there's a couple of ways in our script that might help you to do that sort of thing. For instance, when you're talking about Brooklyn, we ask if they're with us. And you notice you got that there, so you could say there and have the, but it's almost more of like a the. It's harder. With us, you could say it with a D instead of with the TH, or with us, like a T almost. Okay. If you do say with us, it's not a big deal, but if you're like with us, if you emphasize the TH sound, it doesn't sound very New York at all. Okay. So that being said, I'm going to pop back over and read the scene. I'm going to read all the parts. I'm not going to go crazy trying to separate them all out, but I'm going to work on getting those words to sound very New York for you. And I want you to see if you can see some of those rules I was just talking about. And it might help too if you grab your script and read along and circle a couple of voids that you hear in there that sound like, oh yeah, if I say it that way, it'll help me get the flavor right. Okay, here we go. Is anyone else coming? Don't got a clue. You've seen Spot Conlon, right? What'd he say? Sure, we seen him. Him and about 20 of his gang. And them Brooklyn boys is big. And I gotta say, Spot was very impressed, wasn't he? I'd say. So they're with us? Well, that all depends on how you look at it. If you look and see Brooklyn, then they're with us. They wanted proof we're not going to fold at the first sign of trouble. Are we? We are not. There's us and Harlem. Not so fast, boss. Harlem wants to know what Brooklyn's going to do. Well, how about Queens? Queens will be right here backing us up. You see? As soon as they get the nod from Brooklyn. I got the same fisheye in Midtown. Are we doing the right thing? Sure we are. Maybe we put this off a couple of days. No, we can't. Say something. Tell them if we back off now, they'll never listen to us again. And there you have it. So, hopefully that was a little bit helpful. If you think about just the words that you're saying and you just mark a couple of spots where you can make it sound pretty New York, you don't have to go overboard. All right, you don't have to change every vowel. You notice some of them are pretty close to the ones we say already. Like the ah vowel is octopus, spot, Conlon. That one's fine. The e's are also going to be pretty e. If it helps at all, kind of getting them up a little bit closer to your nose. All right, you're going to kind of bring it up here. Also in New York, they tend to talk a little bit crisp just here at the front of the mouth. Sounded a little bit like British. But they're a little bit more fast talking, yeah? Then they're definitely not going to take their pace pretty slow. So just get in there, play around with those words a little bit. You'd be surprised how good you'll do. All right? Have fun.